Hello, security pros, and good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar, The Next Vision for ClareVision, Win More Business, Make More Profits, Delight Your Customers. In this webinar, ClareVision Founder and CEO Brett Price and Lead Sales Engineer Jerry Bulda discuss why dealers from around the country are selecting ClareVision as their video surveillance solution. This webinar will be a perfect opportunity for you to get to learn how you can win more business with ClareVision, get an in-depth look at surveillance products and services, and ask questions to their panel of staff. I'm Hannah Boone, ESA's Marketing Manager, and I'm excited to lead this webinar today. Before we dive in, I'd like to provide some tips for those of you joining us on your first ESA webinar. Welcome. You will be muted for the duration of the session, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. If a question or comment comes to mind at any point during today's session, click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure that we save some time for your questions with our experts. We will be also recording today's webinar so you can re-watch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. Tomorrow, you'll receive an email thanking you for your attendance today, and we'll link to the recording as well as today's presentation slides. If you enjoy quality content and best practice sharing, make sure you save the date for the Electronic Security Expo being held June 5th through the 8th of 2023 in Louisville, Kentucky. More information will be released in the coming months. We at ESA realize that your time is valuable and we really appreciate you spending some time with us today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our ClareVision experts. We have Brett Price. Brett Price leads the vision of Clare Controls. He is also the founder of the award-winning Tempest Pro Services, the largest integrator of home and audio video systems on the west coast of Florida. Brett holds master's degrees in business and electrical engineering from Cornell University. He co-founded Cheetah Technologies, a developer and manufacturer of large-scale telecommunications test and measurement systems. As president, he grew the company to over $60 million in annual sales with 365 employees and system deployments in over 30 countries. In 2000, Brett founded and subsequently sold Aaron Media, a media analytics company for the television industry, providing operators with research focused on viewership patterns using patented mathematic processes. And then we have Jerry Bulda. Jerry has been a key player with the Clare Controls team for nearly 10 years. He comes with an extensive networking background with previous experience at Teltronics and Vertical Communications. His current role at Clare as Senior Sales Engineer is a perfect match for his skill set and background, specializing in pre and post sales, sales support, and all aspects of home automation. Jerry has played a major role in the success of Clare. So that's our ClareVision team, and I will hand it off to them. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you very much. Hannah, we're going to try to go through this as speedily as possible and not bore anyone. As Hannah mentioned, you can ask questions. Jerry's here to answer questions in the chat area, or you can hold them to the end and speak up to bring them out verbally. So without further ado, we'll dive into this. We'll try to dive into this. Come on. There we go. Brief introduction. We'll go through the setup. We'll do a performance run of the cameras, talk about what's new. We've got a next generation app, what we're doing with Control 4 and SDDP, what we're doing with overseas support. We've got a new line of color at night cameras and so on. So there's quite a lot to get through. So basically the vision line was really designed to span the spectrum of your needs. Really, we focus on small business residential. We do have a number of jobs out there that are in a little bit larger jobs like warehousing and things of that nature. But this product starts with a dealer cost of about $69 for a great, well-built 2 megapixel camera, turret or bullet, and goes all the way to 8 megapixel color at night, varifocal turrets. So, and there's everything in between. So very keen attention to that sort of Resi SMB space and the products and devices you need in that space. We break the line up into three segments. One is what we call the value series, and that is basically two products, a 2 and 4 megapixel product. It's a price point product, so it's $69 for the 2 megapixel product and $89 roughly for the 4 megapixel product. All products 4 megapixel and down in fixed lens come with SD cards pre-installed. We have a number of production integrators working with home builders that put the cameras up standalone without an NVR, one, maybe two cameras. And so it makes it very streamlined to install. The SD card's already in there, and you just kind of plug it in and go. We also released a line of Wi-Fi cameras in the value series. The most popular series, oddly, is the performance series. This is the sort of smart camera series. This is Sony Starlight. This is we have varifocal versions of the camera. Smart events include human body detection, line crossing, intrusion, people gathering, loitering, ultra low light with the Sony Starvis sensors. So this line has ended up really been the stalking horse in the line. And so you can get in this lineup, you can get a 4 megapixel fixed lens turret with a 32 gig SD card and a Sony Starvis sensor for under $110 dealer cost. So it's a really great value, and when you see the performance, I think you'll appreciate that value even more. We then added the Color at Night series, which is sort of the big brother of the performance series. Does all the same thing the performance series does, except it's got f1.0 f-stops in it, much lower light sensitivity, and replace the LED with the IR LED with a warm white LED. So now you can see color at night. So functionally identical to the performance series, other than the illumination and the night color at night feature. We will show you shots of these things in action. So we try to do a few things in the product line. We keep the user experience as simple as possible. We look more to Nest than we do, say, a Hikvision. So we're really trying to drive that sort of fulsome experience within a larger, kind of a larger install in Resi, but really keep it, as Nest simple as we possibly can. We do a lot of work with Control4 and providing drivers for both other cameras, but with the control system, and of course our own panel. We try to stay flexible and scalable, and also standards based. So we have I can't tell you the number of times we've had people in the tech support, and it's like, how many different brands of cameras is he using on that NVR? So our NVRs are pretty cost effective, and so we start seeing Hanwai and Hike and other brands on our product that they may have a specialty camera that we don't have, and then they fill out the rest of the set with our cameras. Perfectly fine doing that. We comply with the Nvrs standards to make that happen. So I mentioned a moment ago, you can basically do a standalone installation. You could put one camera in off of one PoE port on a switch, and I'll show you how the ad happens later, and you're done. There's no monthly fees. We spent a lot of time and money building the V2.0 app that we're releasing later this week. Might actually be Monday. There's no fee. There's no fee for storage. There's no fee when we update the firmware. We're working on car detection right now. We're going to roll that out to the performance series cameras. That does not mean that you don't need to charge. If you've got an RMR-based model and you want to go forward with recurring monthly, that's great. I would encourage you to do that. We're just not going to cost you any fees. So we continue to work on the features and capabilities of the cameras, and in particular the smart cameras, and we are driving that app hard to make it the best app on the market, and all of those updates are no cost to you. So this is an example of what we have just done, if I can make this work. This is the old app, and if you've used us before, you are familiar with this. These images are static. They are that's image that I'm hovering over right there. That might have been yesterday. So number one ask from the dealers is, God, make these things live. So we came out with the app, and this is the new app. All images are live, and you can have cameras on a PTZ directly connected to the cloud in multiple physical locations. Organize them any way you like. So you could have the front door of 3 businesses and as camera 1, 2, and 3. And when you go into this app, they are all live in real time. You'd make one tap and you go into the live view of the screen, and the rest, nearly the rest of what you do with this camera is done from this location. You can see right now we're looking at the event history. We can go into the event history and we can select and filter based on the event type, based on the dates, and thin that down. Once you have the event you're interested in, you can share the event with a friend. You can download it to the camera, to the mobile phone. So it's massively simplified from the prior version. You can also, we are introducing in this app, you now have Ptz Control. So if you have a third-party Ptz camera, you can control it from the app. You turn this app sideways, major complaints from our dealers. You turn this app sideways, it automatically goes to portrait mode, landscape mode, and all the controls superimpose over the live view. So any of the controls or any downloads are all done from these 3 dots. These 2 screens are basically the entire application, and we're pretty sure we got pretty darn close to great. We are going forward from here, and we'll be adding what we're calling account management, and we'll be explaining that a little bit more in a bit. So that's it. The UI is, that's the UI. It will show live view, obviously. You can also take this UI and do a side-by-side view. So you can either have it stacked or bricked like this. So if you've got a little bit, maybe you've got 8, 10, 12 cameras and you want to see more of them at the same time, you can go ahead and brick them like this, and they'll all be live view at the same time. We've downed the sort of garish nature of some of the assets that were on this application. So that little circle indicates that there's a firmware update available. You go into your event history, everything is simplified. You do everything with events right here. There's no more tapping 2 and 3 screens in to get to things. When you set your stream settings, for example, if you set a camera at HD mode, it will stay in HD mode now. Before it would flip back to SD. It stays in HD. When it goes back to that live view though, so we don't kind of bomb your camera and wear out your battery and suck down a lot of data. In that live view screen, the waterfall screen, it will go back to SD mode. But when you go back into the live view, it's going to flip the camera back into HD. Simplified the device settings tremendously. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we put in Ptz controls, snapshots, microphone, speaker, all of that right from this one screen. So the entire ecosystem we have laid out in terms of the things to which we report out to, so to speak. So we have the ClareVision app. We have a rich set of drivers, which I'll discuss in a moment with Control 4. And we are releasing on Friday, we are releasing the Nvr software with Oversee and SDDP in it. So no longer, I have another screenshot for that. No longer do you need to kind of get out to the job site or, the VPN in or any other way you're getting to that job site to modify the web settings. Just go right into Oversee, all the firmware updates, reboots, remote access, all from the Oversee dashboard you guys have grown to like. We are adding SDDP to the Nvr this week as well, and enhancing the drivers. I'll talk about that a little more. And we're Untitled compliant, so we do have, as I said earlier, we have people using our cameras, Sunway, and 5 other brands, depending on the use cases that they want, and we're perfectly happy doing that. And if you do that, you can, the Control 4 driver, the ClareVision app, our Claire 1 panel, and Oversee will all operate with that sort of hybridized set of cameras that are on the Nvr. So I'm going to skip this slide. So we are fully NDAA compliant. We do focus a lot on edge technology, so storage on the edge, all the artificial intelligence is done on the edge. And we do that to keep costs of deployment down. As we start to move things to the cloud, while it's extraordinarily powerful, it's very expensive. So the least cost place to do something is typically at the edge, and there's limits to what you can do at the edge. So over time, you will see us post-processing back in the cloud and to add more value to the delivery to the customer. So over time, we'll do that. Right now, we've been able to harness the horsepower built into these cameras and deliver pretty spectacular results with the smart features. These are examples. This is a human body detection for a zone, regional intrusion, line cross, loiter, and people gather. It's sort of a density setting. These are standard, and we are working on these same settings for automobile. Expect to release that in the next couple of months. And again, there will be no charge. There's three forms of video storage: the micro SD card and the NVR, obviously the most common. You can use the SD card as a backup to the NVR. So we do have dealers using the SD card to store events only. So they may store smart events on the SD card, full-time record, and smart events on the NVR. In the event the NVR is destroyed, removed, stolen, the events of interest are back in the camera anyway. You can also take snapshots and move snapshots to a Google Drive account. Don't have too many dealers doing that, but we do have a lot of dealers taking advantage of the fact that we have built-in SD cards and they use them as backups. Walk you through very quickly how easy it is to add a camera to our system. You open sort of the main menu. You see Add Device. Tell it whether it's a camera or an NVR. Then you tell it, is it local or am I looking for something outside of this house? This one's local. It found two cameras on the local network. You select the one you want, change the password, and it's added. It's literally that simple. It works phenomenally. When you're on it, you can actually add a camera on a remote network by doing the exact same thing. Add device, select a camera or an NVR, tell it the app it's on a remote network. What you then do is have somebody show you the QR code, say on an email or an image, a web image of some kind. You scan the QR code that's located in another building, enter the password, and you just added an NVR in a remote location. This is done all the time by our tech support guys to help dealers and customers with some, with tech support problems. They add it back to an app here. They see the exact experience the customer has, and it takes literally 5 seconds to do this. Richard. These are just some of the new screens. Those screens that were on that waterfall page, I'll try the new, yes. You can view all the cameras live. You can change the feed layout. You can just press and hold and drag the cameras around and to reorganize. It is a complete overhaul of the current app. Okay, keeping on time here. So now using ClareVision with ClareHome, we're going to walk you through that briefly. Then we're going to talk about using ClareVision with Control 4, and then we'll walk you through some of the cameras in detail and why we think they're so different and unique. So in any event, you can access in the ClareHome application, inside the ClareHome application, you can access the cameras on the panel or in the ClareOne app. And then the ClareOne app and ClareHome have a deep linking feature, much like Facebook and Messenger do. So if you go into ClareHome, and we'll show you this in a moment, and you see an image you want to see, I'm going to skip here. You see an image of interest. You tap on the button. It takes you directly to that camera in ClareHome. If you tap backwards, it takes you back to the ClareHome app. So the ClareHome app is a security app. It's a home automation app. It does show you the live views. You can process events from the cameras. You can say if a human loiters or a human goes into this intrusion zone for more than 5 seconds, then I want this sequence. I want the lights to turn on and a siren to sound, whatever it is you'd like to do. Those are all of the automation features are built into the ClareOne platform. For user ease of use, we did deep link. So now when they see something of interest in their ClareHome app, they just simply tap and it takes them directly to that live view for that particular camera. Now they can go to the event history and things of that nature and keep moving along. Now that we've released, there are 2 forms of OTA service. We have an OTA server that we maintain, for firmware update server, and we will continue to maintain that. We will also maintain, as we roll out oversee into the entire product line, You'll also be able to do the firmware updates directly from Oversee. When it's in our OTA server, the devices see our OTA server and a little icon comes up and it tells the user to tap it and it automatically downloads it. So in most cases, you won't have to use Oversee to manage firmware, but if you wanted to do so, you certainly could. Control 4, we integrate human body detection, line cross, intrusion, loiter, people gather, and this Friday we'll be releasing SDDP auto discovery for the NVR driver. Lastly, we have unified the drivers. There's only one driver for ClareVision. If you want to talk to a camera, you use the ClareVision driver. If you want to talk to an NVR and its associated cameras, it's one driver, and it's smart enough to just know whether it's dealing with NVRs or cameras, and it adapts to that. So these features are available now, no matter whether you're using an NVR or not, and you can then take snapshots, create push notifications out of Control 4. You can create rules in Control 4 to take action based on the nature of the event. So that's about 2 weeks ago that all released. Oversee, as I said, is coming out on Friday. You can remotely log into the NVR, which is going to be the Hail Mary for many of our dealers. You can view online, offline status. Of course, you can get notifications from Oversee if something goes offline, remotely reboot, and manage firmware. So now the ClareVision line is remotely manageable. All right, we're about 20 minutes in, and I'm going to switch the topic to camera performance, because we spent a lot of time on this with the manufacturer. What Claire did not do is we did not go find a manufacturer and lick and stick a ClareVision label and put it on it. We rejected 5 or 6 different spins of these cameras before we accepted one. We spent 4 to 5 months doing nothing but video testing on these cameras. And Jerry, I'd ask you, what's the first reaction when people see these cameras?
Well, usually when it's the installers, it's the ease of use, whether you install from the ClareVision app or you do it through the web interface. Just a typical setup. They're ready to go pretty much out of the box, including the NVR. The reactions I've seen from end users, customers, is the quality of the images that come through and the recordings. And I know we've got the new app, which is even easier to use to access archived video, but the view even on the V100 cameras is just been outstanding. So we did spend a lot of time. We have a video lab in Sarasota, Florida. So we spent a lot of time in the video lab tuning these cameras with the manufacturer. And let me show you the results. So what we have here is this is a Ring 2 megapixel camera. This is a Nest 2 megapixel camera. This is a commercial Hike Dahua, that level commercial camera. Then this is the Claire line down here. So this is the value. This is a $69 camera. This Nest image, this isn't even close to the color of that scene. But you can see the clarity differences between these consumer cameras and these cameras, which are priced at roughly half the price of these cameras. Then you start coming over here into the performance series, and I'll take you into the evening shots as well. You can see the dramatic increase in clarity. I mean, you follow the slat lines in the picnic table, and you start looking at them here, you start to lose them. So we spent a lot of time, and we think it really paid off. Here's an excellent shot. These images, these are very large, very well-known companies, and these are very bad images. You get down here, this is a $69 2 megapixel camera. This is the 8 megapixel and 4 megapixel performance. Look into the background. You can see details in the building. That building's 150 feet away. We did additional testing in what we call this sort of the break zone, where you're just before that infrared illuminator is coming on. That's a really hard place for a camera. So what we did is we took, again, the same shots. We do the same thing with full light exposure. What's interesting is you start to look at the calibration of color, and this is what happens.
This is a close-up look at this is a color calibration chart that's used by photographers. This is our value series. That's a Nest series, which is these two are practically imperceptible. That's not half bad right there. But that's a $69 camera is doing a phenomenal job in that complex color spectrum. So those are the things we're going to walk into the color. These are the things we worked on first. Is let's just make the image amazing. And the first thing your customers will say to you when they see these cameras is that image is amazing. We hear that all the time. We then went ahead in the spring, we added this lineup. It's a higher end product. It's an 8 megapixel Varifocal and set a demand plan and forecasted, and we stocked out in 4 weeks. It's a very popular camera line and it's been amazing to us. But it's a powerful product line. By the way, the bullet camera, the reason it's a little bit larger, that camera is a 60-meter infrared reach. So if you've got something hanging off the back of a house and you want to see back into a field somewhere, that's the camera you want to go to. The others are pretty typical 30, 40-meter stuff. Varifocal lens, I'm sure you all know what varifocal is, but we can tune a varifocal and start to get a closer shot of the field of interest. So you can tune the camera so it's not picking up the neighbor's house on one side, your wall on the other, and the field of view is really, you're wasting half the CMOS sensor on stuff that doesn't matter. On a varifocal camera, you can bring it in right on the field of view, and then with an 8 megapixel varifocal, then you can digitally zoom in because resolution is so high, and you can see extreme detail very far away. Let's switch to the color at night cameras real quick. So this is a parking lot, obviously, next to our building. And what we did is we took a standard infrared camera and a color at night camera and forced the LEDs to turn in the off mode. This shows you the stark difference between the light sensitivity of a color at night camera and the light sensitivity of a standard IR camera. Now you get a Sony Starlight, Super Starlight camera in there, it's going to do better than that. So there's a little bit of marketing going on here, but anyway, this shows you the difference. There it is with the infrared turned on. So color at night is not a gimmick. It's I'll show you a couple of application use cases. It is the human eye does a better job of recognizing images or faces with color than it does in sheer black and white. I'll show you another use case issue. You start getting into situations like this where you want to zoom in on a parking lot or you want to see a parking lot, that ultra low light capability will allow you to keep the infrared turned off because license plates by design reflect. And so this is what the license plates look like in a color camera with the infrared off. And that's what they look like with an IR camera with the infrared turned on. So it's more than just a parlor trick. Some people like the white light as a deterrent. Some people like to see the color, but the reality is people can resolve images better with color. And if you do not need the infrared turned on, you do not deal with flashback problems. So that's kind of the name of that game. The other thing is you start to understand the image, and this is understanding the image, better, right? If you look at this, these are both with the LED on, the white LED on the left and the red LED on the right. You have no idea what color car that is. It was only in the event that we use a color at night camera, could you tell me that car is red? So it just does add more value and adds more information to somebody that's looking at the video or the image. More examples. Now, some people, when you're using these cameras, the white light is white, and some people may find your neighbor may find that to be objectionable. We have found that the white light, you can dial that white light down to about 50% power, and you'll still accomplish 80 to 90% of the performance limits of the camera. It is warm light, but if you have a cloudy night and it's down where I am in the south and a cloudy night, that white light's coming on. There just is not enough. There's no moonlight. There's no. I live out in the country. There's no carriage lanterns or anything. It will come on. And what I did at my house is I just dialed it back to 50%, so it wasn't quite so garish, and I'm fine with it. This is the lineup, just sort of from edge to edge. You're talking down here. These are the value series cameras. No starlight, no color at night. They all have SD cards in them. Digital wide dynamic range, 2 and 4 megapixel. No smart events. They do have basic human detection built into them now, though. We added that in the last 6 months. Then you step up to the performance series, where you're getting the Starlight products. You're getting true wide dynamic range. SD cards, of course, are built in, but you're getting the smart features. And so, the cameras on the left column start around $69. This column starts around $100. These are dealer costs, $109. Then you move into color at night performance. You're going to be up into the 120s. Same functional capability between the two cameras, except the color at night feature. And then you move into Varifocal products, and then you move all the way up into the color at night Varifocal, which is an amazing, amazing camera. I'm just shocked again at the sell-through of cameras in that range. We do a couple new cameras. I'll cover the Nvrs. We do have a couple new cameras I'll cover with you quickly. Our Nvrs are a little different. The numbering on the Nvr 4-channel is the number of PoE ports on it. However, our 4-port Nvr supports up to 9 cameras. So 5 of them can be on the general network, and 4 can be hanging off the ports of the Nvr. The 8 has 8 ports, but supports up to 16 cameras. The 16 will support up to 25 cameras. And the dealer cost on these is in the low 300s, mid 400s, and around $600. So again, very cost effective, and we've had some pretty good luck with them. We just released it. We're about to release this, I should say. This is a fisheye camera. It is Wi-Fi and PoE. It is 2-way audio, so you can speak to the person in your office or in your home or in a place of interest, and it is an NDAA compliant camera. Okay. I guess that's all we're going to talk about in terms of releases. We've got a lot going on. We're working on another 3 or 4 cameras to release before the end of the year. We've got another app release coming out at the end of the year that's going to be as significant as the one we just showed you. So this camera line is moving fast. So just to recap it, which will leave plenty of time. Unified, we basically unified the ClareVision and ClareHome mobile experience for the deep linking. Rich drivers available for the Claire 1 platform and Control 4. And then we're also interoperable across several brands. We like to believe we're scalable. I mean, we've got, we can do this 5-minute install with the SD card, scan it, add it, put the password in, and you're done. Or go all the way up to an NVR, 25 cameras on a property, and or anywhere in the middle. And of course, our app supports multiple properties. And as I explained earlier, you can organize the app any way you want. It doesn't really care whether you're putting property 1 all together or not. Priced right, we were really, I think, aggressive about making sure we had both the build quality. When you pick these up, they're solid. We have the build quality in place. We've got the software features in place, and we really focused on getting you in a place where you can have a differentiating advantage against some of these consumer products. And right off the rip, you don't have to charge a customer a monthly fee, and we have those images that I showed you earlier versus Google's product and Ring. Those are some marketing collateral that we have. There's a marked difference. There's a substantial difference. We think we've got a powerful set of cameras. It's pretty broad. There's about 65 or 70 SKUs in the line. We've got brackets and mounts and SD cards that I didn't really go through. But there's 60 to 65 SKUs in this line, one SKU for every need. We are working on a Ptz camera, and we are working on a ClareVision video doorbell, and we expect those out by the end of the year. It is an NDAA compliant line, and it's on VIF. And like I said, we've got the Wi-Fi cameras came out about 6 weeks ago. Fisheye cameras will ship in about 2 weeks. Native oversee and SDDP and the Nvrs. You can expect SDDP in the cameras by the end of the quarter. And then we'll set our sights on oversee and the cameras thereafter. We're working on a video doorbell, and we are going to have another software update at the end of the year with substantial added goodies for the users and the dealers alike. And that's about it. I ended 10 minutes early.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. I think we're ready to go into our question and answer section. So we already answered quite a few that were submitted live, but now's your time to submit any more. But looks like we have a queue right here. So let me just pull this up. Okay, so first question that we have that just came in is, do all of your cameras come in white and black?
Yes, yes, with the exception of the Wi-Fi and the fisheye.
Okay, perfect. Let me pull up another question. And I apologize if some of these have already been asked, but maybe we can just clarify. So is the entire lineup of cameras and Nvrs Nbaa compliant?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. And then does every camera accept SD cards so they can all be set up as a standalone camera? As standalone cameras.
Yes, yes. There are no cameras in the line that do not have an SD card slot.
Okay, great. Another question that we have is, have the snapshots inside of Control 4 been fixed?
Yes, and the release of the Nvr driver, the driver that was released in June addressed the snapshot issue. And if there's a specific issue with Android, you can email me offline and I'll walk you through that one. That's more on it's more a C4 thing, but we coded around it. Anyway, how's that for obtuse?
Oh, that's great. Okay, so another question that we have is, when can we expect the new ClareVision to be accessible in the Google Play Store and App Store?
The new app should be Monday, Tuesday of next week.
Okay.
It'll be next week, no matter what.
Great. Another question that we have is, let me pull this up. Many customers ask if the camera system integrates with an access control system and have a mobile app to see the cameras and access activity from one mobile app. That's a question, I guess, or a statement.
He wants to use an access control with the cameras, like an integration to access control.
That's what it seems like.
Yes.
Okay.
So I zoned out there. Jerry, did you
No, you're
handle
okay. Let me repeat it just to make sure. So here's just as it's typed. Many customers ask if the camera system integrates with an access control system and have a mobile app to see the cameras and access activity from one mobile app.
So a front center going into the rest of the year and into 23 is to bring, for SMB, to bring access control into the portfolio. So not only the cameras, we'll be integrating the Claire One panel. We're likely going to start with Pro Data Key, so that when you badge into a building, it automatically disarms the camera. Disarms the Berg system. We will look at the vision integration into that experience at the same time, but it is sort of front center in our roadmap is to get the SMB access system organized.
Perfect.
There's a question, will V3 video doorbell have firmware to control via Alexa and Control One? Via Alexa Control One. I'm not sure I know what Control One is, but I will say the video, we're moving in the firmware area, you can look it up on Google and whatnot. We're moving to something called WebRTS, so that going forward, sort of from the cameras from the V3 doorbell forward, when we put things like WebRTS in, you can send that stream to a public website. You could send it to Chromecast. And so if you can envision, it will be, you can send it to Google Assistant. So you can envision if you wanted to see your video doorbell, you could just put a Chromecast in the back of a TV, or if it was Chromecast enabled, you could start bringing these cameras up on web-enabled products like a television or like a computer. So you'll see us kind of migrating over. It takes a long time to do this, but you'll see us migrating over time to this thing called WebRTS, which is going to open up the world to where you display cameras. Because right now it's like apps and it's web user interfaces on Nvrs, and it's so restrictive. What we want to do is bust that open and put it out into the broader software infrastructure, the universe, the web, the world of the web, and that's what's coming down the road with ClareVision. Probably shouldn't have told you all that.
All right, I see one more question that was submitted via the chat. It says, is there a place/list where we can see all the SKUs, especially accessories?
Easiest place is, well, there's two places. One, you can go to our website and go to surveillance, and it's a little more compact than the Snap website. Or you can just go to Snap, and you can see all the SKUs and all the accessories all right there. Oh, somebody, I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, Richard. Richard's my marketing guy. Right here on the answer, he's got a, I guess we have a catalog online. Shame on me. So, into Hal Lewis, I hate that set screw too. We're removing the set screw on the turret camera. You'll start to see turret bodies coming out in the latter part of this year with that set screw 6 feet under. Let's see, Clairvision training. I don't see anything else.
There's another question. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, another question just came in, but also someone was trying to clarify on the Alexa question. So I don't know if we want to go to that, but they clarified and said Alexa can control Claire One controller, but can't interact with video doorbell.
Yeah, so getting WebRTC into the camera is the first step of getting that Alexified. So I can't say that the first version of the video doorbell will, I know what you're referring to, will be engaged into like an Alexa touch panel, but as we go downstream, it's going to enable us to do that. This is sort of the first step, is getting off of some of these legacy protocols.
Great. We have another question that came in. Any plans to allow the cameras to mount directly on a 3/4 inch round gang box?
A 3/4 inch round gang box.
He's trying to use a commercial gang box, and those things are like 4 inches in diameter, and our cameras are probably 4 1/4 or something. So the short answer is no, but the short answer is not by plan. It was by circumstance. You'll see a turret body coming out from us in the latter part of the year, and it will fit on a 4 inch round box. I would love to tell you I planned that. It's just happened. It's the same turret body that gets rid of that set screw, and over the coming year we'll move everything over to that turret body.
All right. Another person, Jared Holmes, mentioned in the chat. All right. He says, you mentioned snapshot issue was fixed with C4. What about live video stream through C4? Is that included with the new driver?
Yes, and Jared, if you're having any troubles at all, don't. Just send me an email. I'll connect you to the gentleman. His name's Nicholas Ladnier. He wrote the driver, and you can get right to the guy that wrote the code, and he can instantaneously walk you through how to handle this. So don't don't struggle with anything. Just email me. I'll connect you with Nicholas, and you can get that done.
All right, it doesn't look like we have anything coming in right now. Let's see. Perhaps we could, I don't know if we have a slide with your email and contact information for people to submit questions. Yeah, that's actually, someone just submitted. What is your email, Brett?
Probably not on here. That would be thinking ahead.
I can type it in the chat for you if you'd like. And let's
It's,
see.
I'm just trying to get to the last page and see if by chance it's there.
Okay.
It's probably not. Anyway, it's Brett with 2 T's .price at clarecontrols.com. And Jerry's is Jerry.Bulda at clarecontrols.com.
Okay. I'm typing these in right now. Perfect. All right, any questions, remarks, or comments?
If you haven't tried them, try them, guys. They're and I'm at that email, and we're a very small company, so I product manage the video line. And if you've got comments or questions, email me. I have dealers email me on the weekend, and I respond. So give them a try, and we will be here when you need us.
Perfect. All right, so we have this webinar slotted for another 15 minutes or so. We can either wrap up now, and y'all can submit your questions directly by emailing the ClareVision pros, or if y'all like, we can keep this open for the remaining 15 minutes. I'll leave it up to you.
Maybe another couple minutes, see if anybody wants to chime in, and then we'll.
We got a compliment on the 8 megapixel cameras. I'm telling you, if you, and I think we sell the dealer cost on those on the fixed lens. IR is like 145 or something like that, and I get the same reaction all the time. Try that camera. It's weird because we thought the $69 camera was going to be a racehorse. The 4 and 8 megapixel performance series outsell the entirety of the value line. People are just going to the the 4K cameras. It's a great image. Oh, Brian's team. Cloud device limits. There's no cloud device limits. There's really no cloud device limits. Let me go back to the slide that shows a comparison views of different cameras. Sure.
I did check with our camera guru, and he said there are no. We removed device limits for the cloud communication, so. I did check on that.
Oh, that's right. We did. I forgot we even had that at that time. I was trying to wonder where that came from. So here's actually it shows currently different cameras. Which Jay Reed, I can go through them slowly again. There's 4 or 5, or these are the daytime images in sunlight. And I'll tell you right now, the ones in the upper right are red because that's hike. And the lower is our cameras. And you can see that like the 8 megapixel camera down here in the lower right is the resolution is they're just great images. We get that all the time. The lower right 2 camera images here. This is at night. There's building lights on in the background, obviously. But the clarity as you look into the far field is pretty amazing. Yeah, who wants a presentation of Peter? Richard, can we post this on our website somewhere? Hal Lewis wants to just as a PDF?
So I believe they'll be emailed.
Okay.
Tomorrow you'll receive, since you've been attending, you'll receive a thank you email with access to the on-demand webinar and also access to the slides.
I'm fairly certain these images are also on our website. Richard put them there. And this is what we call the sort of breaking point shot, where the cameras are right at their limit before they flip to. In some cases, we force them not to flip because they're going to flip before this. But this is 0.1 lux, and it's sort of a neat test. And you can see. So for example, this is the one all the way to the left is that 8 megapixel camera, which is interesting because many times, and I'm not going past my time, many times you see the reverse effect. So for example, this 2 megapixel sensor should pick up color and, well, it's just a bad sensor, but it's harder to take a high res sensor and deal with low light because the pixels are so much smaller. And so that's kind of what makes this camera stand out so much is when you lay it up against a competitor's 2 megapixel camera, you've lost color, you've lost resolution over here, and that 8 megapixel camera is standing strong. So these two cameras are our best-selling cameras right here by far.
To chime in on this slide right here, this particular slide with the dark, it was me testing with Richard in there as well. He was helping test on this day. We were in there in a pitch dark room with the door open, probably about maybe 2 or 3 inches. Brett came over and he said, that's not 0.1 lux. He said, you need to close that door till there's a sliver of light coming through into the room. So we were standing in there. I couldn't see those guys, and the camera was able to pick up the chart and from the image. It was actually,
yeah. And 0.1 lux in a room, to Jerry's point, that the human eye couldn't. If the camera was probably 8 to 10 feet from that color chart and eye chart, from that distance, the human eye can't see that chart. It's gone. It's not even, the human eye can't even resolve what the Nest 2 megapixel did. So when you see this image, if you were in there with your naked eye and you see this is what the camera image is, it just floors you. The technology, and it's Sony and you know, the technology they produce for these sensors is just crazy good. So but yeah, I mean, usually higher resolution does not deal as well with low light as low resolution, and we've been able to turn that on its back. So, then again, you got to watch it in here, and this is what they look like close up. And again, this is up on our website. Well, if that's all, I think we can say thank you.
All right, perfect. Thanks everyone for joining today. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Brett or Jerry. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining, and you'll be emailed the presentation slides and on-demand webinar tomorrow. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.